Business trip. I returned home from a business trip, a trip in which she came and spent a few days with me in Las Vegas. She left for home on a Wednesday and I came home on Friday, the 2nd. We were supposed to be leaving on the 3rd for a Caribbean cruise with our son and her mother. I walked in the door, said hello, went to give her a hug and kiss. She seemed like something was wrong. She told me we needed to talk. Went to the living room and she handed me a letter she had written. The letter basically stated that she was unhappy, that it should have been obvious to me this wasn't working for a while. She wanted a divorce. That is the day my entire world crashed down around me. I have loved this woman from the day I met her, 13 years ago. We have shared so much together. We made a son together. We laughed, cried, played, fought, everything together. Just like everything else, it wasn't perfect, but I thought our love for each other was infallible. We went on this cruise together, still. I chose to do it mostly for my son, because he had no idea. No one did. This was a complete shock to absolutely everyone but her apparently. We broke the news to him on the cruise, hoping that the fun of the week would help him absorb and adjust. It went okay. He reacted poorly, but we assured him we would still be friends. Meanwhile, I felt like I was losing it inside. We got home Saturday and I packed some things and moved to my friend's apartment. I was a wreck. Sunday night, she calls me crying and telling me she can't do it. How much I hurt her over the years, and that we need to work on things and put this back together for our son and for our family. We cried together. I agreed. We agreed to go to counseling, get help, really work on things. I went home Sunday night and we lay in bed talking, laughing. I really felt like we were going to be okay. Monday she was a bit colder, but I figured it would take some time to get things back in order. I wasn't still and committed to change some things about me. Monday night, after we put the kid to bed, we sat and talked for around 2 hours. We talked about things that we needed to change, things about me, things about her, about our bonding life, etc. It ended with me offering to give her a massage to relax and try and get some rest. She was really tired. She agreed. I went into it with no expectations at all, just wanted to make her feel better. It ended with her wanting bonding. As we were bonding, she made me vow that we would sleep together at least once a day for the next month. I thought, awesome. We are going to be okay. The next day was somewhat rocky again but ended in another lovemaking that night. The next day after that, she was completely shut off. We had our marital counseling scheduled that morning. We went, she was ice cold. She told the counselor in the session the only reason she was there was for our son. We talked very briefly on the way home. And then we pretty much didn't say anything the rest of the day. She was going out that evening with some of our mutual friends and I told her I would stay home to watch our son. The next day after that, she came in and told me she couldn't do it. She was done, and we needed to move forward with the divorce. I kind of expected it, considering the drastic shift, but it was nonetheless painful. We talked about me staying in the house with her until it sold, and then going our separate ways. We would do an uncontested divorce, work through everything amicably as to save money, and heartache over a big legal battle. The next day she came home and told me she had went to talk to an attorney about this divorce, and she had some paperwork from him. We needed to pay him $18 and she wanted me to pay for it. I contested that we should split it, and we got into a fight about it. That night she said she couldn't do it anymore. She needed me to move out and give her space. I moved out the next day. Since then, the house has sold. In 2 days, we have literally sold almost all of our possessions, minus a few things we are each taking with us. It has just been a complete whirlwind. I am watching my world burn down around me. This past Monday I went over to meet a guy about buying our bedroom set. I walked in and hugged my son. We got to talking, and he told me that Mommy had made me dinner. What? Okay. I ate and told my son thank you. He said, Mommy wanted to do it. She took less for herself so you could have some. What? I went in her office and thanked her, and that is where we started a conversation again. She told me that she still really cares for me and wants the best for me. I told her the same. She started crying again, telling me how much I hurt her. We got into a really deep conversation about our past, and I apologized for a lot of my shortcomings. I realized in that moment that while I thought I was focusing on things to make her happy, I was focusing on all the wrong things and not paying attention to what she really wanted. We briefly talked about going to counseling again, halting the divorce, moving apart, but working on things, starting over. She seemed genuinely interested. Then the guy showed up to buy the bed. I helped him cart everything out. She went outside to talk to her mother on the phone. Guy left. She came in and was completely shut down again. She said I was steamrolling her into changing her mind about this, and it wasn't what she wanted. She said she doesn't believe that I will change, and doesn't want to give it a chance. She is tired, and ready to move on. I asked her to please just commit to 1 hour a week of MC, but she said no to that too. She said she would like to focus on being friends and good parents to our son. I told her that she doesn't need to make a decision tonight. I just want her to not say no yet. Just leave that option on the table for now, at least. The next day I sent her an article about walkaway wife syndrome, and that, while it was bad, there was hope if we could give it a chance. She said that she wanted me to respect her decision. The marriage was over, and we need to focus on the future. Since then, we have talked very little. I am just completely devastated. She was my entire world. My best friend, my partner, I have never loved or been loved by someone as much as we loved each other. I know what the problems are now, and I know they can be fixed. All it takes is to shed the past and focus on fixing them. She cannot do it apparently. I am trying to move on, I just don't know how. It has been a month so far, and I feel like I am just sinking in quicksand. Like I have no future anymore. I am not sure what to do. I just want her back. Just to answer the obvious, she swears there has been no infidelity. She is a woman of very high morals and standards. She doesn't compromise those morals easily. I am inclined to believe her when she says she has not cheated. Of course, no one knows exactly, but she has told me numerous times that there is no one else. She doesn't even want to consider anyone else. She just wants to focus on herself. I know exactly what happened. It is my nature to get very focused, laser focused even, on one thing and kind of ignore everything else. When I see a problem, I beat its ass until it isn't a problem anymore, and then I move on. In the meantime, sometimes I leave awake. A good example is that I was under the impression, for years, that my wife didn't like her work. My number one priority was her happiness, always, so I went out of my way to look for opportunities for her, try and boost her confidence and encourage her to seek promotions. I looked for job opportunities with me at my company, presented her with things numerous times, convinced her to go back to school. She told me, Monday, that she didn't understand why I was always so unhappy with her, why I always wanted to change her career, etc. She is good at what she does and is happy with her job. I was floored. That wasn't my intention at all. But instead of slowing down and listening to her, I got focused on one thing and tuned everything else out. I also know that when her and I met, I wasn't over my previous relationship. I got into a relationship with her way before I was ready. I had been a month out of a 7-year relationship, not marriage, but throughout the end of high school and all of college. I knew though, when I met my wife, that she was special. The moment I saw her walk out of her apartment that first day, I knew I was done. I would be with her forever. So regardless of my mental state, I knew I couldn't let her get away. That said, I think I was bitter and unhappy. I think I was resentful of her grace and joy, her ability to see the best in everything, the fact that she didn't need me to fix her. So, I was grumpy. After a while, it just became my role, I guess. I was the grumpy husband, she was the happy wife. I didn't mean that to happen, I think it just happened and became habit. I was never like that before. I don't know why I was like that with her. I also had a very tumultuous childhood. Never had much in the way of parental figures. I think she made me feel safe and comfortable, so I almost put her in the role of my mother. I knew she would be there to fix things, to make me feel better, to shelter me from things, and that felt good. In hindsight, that should have never been her only job. We were supposed to be partners. She needed that from me too, and I didn't give it to her. Those are a few of her main complaints, and they are very valid. She also did a poor job of communicating this to me though, I think. She is such a fixer, she is a mental health therapist herself. Her inclination, always, is to make everyone else happy around her, at the expense of her own happiness. That becomes very easy to take advantage of, even when you don't realize it. The time she did vent and let me know she was unhappy was usually in the throes of an argument. I told her Monday, yes, I do remember you saying you were unhappy with things while we were arguing, but I never understood that meant you were overall unhappy. I was heated, not listening, and just thinking you were unhappy in the moment. I wish I would have woken up a bit earlier. She has no friends, as in 0 girlfriends. She speaks to her mom, and I would have imagined her mom would have known this, but I talked with her mom, as she was crying to me, saying that she just learned about this that morning. She has a sister that she talks to, but they rarely ever have talked about anything like this. It's typically very mundane. How are the kids? Let's go shopping, etc. She works from home and rarely gets out. When she does go out, it is with her mom and sister, or with me. Of course, there is always a way. I just really have a hard time believing it, even though all signs point to yes. You would have to know her to understand, I guess. I'm 98% certain there is no one else. I have a hope that once the emotions go down a little, she may realize that she misses me a little, at least that is my hope. My last thing I said to her was that I hope I get a call or text someday asking me to go to a movie or for a coffee, and we can begin again. That would be a dream come true for me. It is especially hard today. I picked my son up from school and had him with me a while. I just feel so depleted, like I have nothing to offer him. It's not fair to him. I'm trying. It's so hard dropping him off too. Worst pain ever. My son is 7. He took the initial news hard, but we were on the cruise. I took him for a walk around the ship and told him it was not his fault. Things would be different, but I wasn't going far. Told him, let's be tough and have a great week, and we did. So far, he has seemed to be okay with things. She is moving with him across town to be close to her sister. He will get to go to school with his cousins, so that's good. That helps him in this transition. My 99 does play therapy for kids too. I suggested to my wife that we take him. She said he was managing fine, and it wasn't needed. Seems awful short-sighted, especially considering she is a therapist herself. I am 37, she is 39. She says that she has been communicating it all along, I just wasn't hearing her. Fair enough, I don't doubt that in her way, she did. I am just saying that it wasn't in a language that I understood. Just like the love that I thought I was showing wasn't in a language that she understood. Tragic, really. I am next to certain there is no I guess you would just have to know her to understand. She takes cheating very seriously. It's not something she would do. I have asked her, I have told her to please just come clean if there is. We can move past it. She is adamant there is not. She seems perfectly content moving closer to her mother and living alone with our son. I have been faithful the whole marriage. There was one incident, probably a few months in, before we were married, that I reached out to my ex to see how she was doing. She found out and we had a pretty deep discussion about it. I apologized and we moved forward. That was it. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that for the last 4 years or so, we were both very overweight. I was pushing 320 pounds. She was probably 220 or something. We both decided to have surgery. She had surgery in December of last year. I had it in March of this year. I am down to about 220 now and feeling much healthier. Eating habits completely changed, working out, etc. She is down to about 130 I am guessing and looks fantastic. I feel like we are finally all there, health-wise, etc. We can finally start feeling good about ourselves. Makes it worse. I knew going into the surgeries, the stories about divorce after weight loss surgery. I thought, never us. We were too strong to succumb to that. Damn, I was dumb. Weeks later, our house closes tomorrow. I feel like I have been hardening myself a little bit, and no longer feel so desperate every day. That said, I had to go out to the house yesterday to wait for the Salvation Army folks to come by and pick up some things we were giving away. I had to sit in the house, alone for an hour or so. That was tough, just looking around and seeing all of the memories we had made going on around me. Such a shame. This is so avoidable, but yet, it's happening. We have literally sold almost everything we have ever owned in the span of a month. She is moving today to her apartment. I moved in with a friend a few weeks ago. It is amazing how fast a life changes. One minute you are a husband and a father, living in a nice house in a great city with a great school for your kids. Next minute, you are a bachelor, living out of half a closet in a friend's apartment. Your kid has moved across town to a marginal school district and your once loving wife seems to hate you. My comment, most likely the wife had an emotional BF. Nothing physical as of yet, that is why she did not admit to an affair. People don't leave you that quickly, unless there is another person in the picture. Story 2. Looking up. I love my husband. I have been happy with him and I wanted to spend my life with him. I still do. All of my happiest memories are with him and I don't want those to stop. He's everything that I have ever wanted. And I ruined it. I cheated on my husband and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to tell him or what to do. I don't know what to say because what happened still isn't very clear. I don't want to lose my husband, but I know I'm going to. I don't deserve him. He has never been unfaithful to me. He's an amazing husband that any woman would be lucky to have. Friends thought we had a perfect marriage, and I just blew it up. My husband isn't home right now. He is in the Dominican with his friends. All day I just sit at home, cry and feel disgusted with myself. This isn't the type of person I am. Or thought I was. I guess I am. Before this I have never been unfaithful. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I could ever do something like this. I have never been a promiscuous person, but that night I was. I wish I could take it back, or better yet, I wish it never happened. It wasn't worth it. Nothing could ever make it worth the cost of my marriage and my husband's pain. I am so scared for when he comes home. I don't know what I'm going to do. I want to forget that it happened and be happy. My husband doesn't know right now and I don't know how to tell him and minimize the pain that I caused him. I don't want to lose him. I don't know how I'm going to look him in the eye and tell him what I did, then watch him walk away. We recently decided to take the next step in our marriage and we were so happy about that. All of our hopes and plans are ruined because of me. Everything that we built is ruined. I don't understand how some people can be unfaithful to their spouse over and over. I did it once and it is killing me. This is really hard to write. I'm scared to read the replies. I don't want to be told how terrible of a person I am. I know. I just want to be with my husband, in his arms, but he isn't here, and when he does get here, he isn't going to want to be anywhere near me. What do I do? How long was the IA going on before you carried it into bonding? Or was this the drunk at a bar variety? The latter. I know that he isn't going to want to stay with me when I tell him. Why should he? I couldn't hide it from him. He deserves better than that. As if I'm any person to decide that now. We don't have any kids yet. We've been trying but no, not yet. Comments. Well, you at once. What is to stop you from doing it again if you don't nip this in the bud by coming clean? What exactly happened to lead you astray? There is always a reason for cheating. What was your reason? Hey, are you so sure he will not forgive you? Most spouses do want to forgive, but you are going to carry most of the weight of repairing the marriage if he accepts to give you another chance. It will not be easy nor a sure thing that he will be able to heal and you both make a new marriage stronger, but are you willing to carry the majority of that weight? OP responds, I'm not going to do it again. I don't know how anyone could feel like this and do it again. I don't want to be with anyone else and I don't want to hurt my husband further. I'm going to tell my husband. I don't know how or when. Do I wait until he comes home or ruin his trip? At least right now he's having fun. I didn't know the guy. I didn't plan on it. I almost never drink. I didn't plan on drinking. He approached me and I didn't tell him to go away. The way he talked made me feel comfortable and I said more than I should have. I liked the attention because it was lacking a little bit from my husband after we had been trying to get pregnant and it wasn't happening as fast as we hoped. I liked the attention. That was too far and I let it go further. It seems like it would have been better if it was an emotional affair first and I threw away my marriage for something seemingly real, but I threw it away for no one, for nothing. He could have a wife that would never cheat on him. He shouldn't want me when he can have someone else. He has more self-respect than that. I'd do anything to stay married and be happy again, but I don't know how that will be possible. He deserves to know what I did and be with someone who would respect him more. I couldn't pretend everything is fine for the rest of my life while he lives in the unknown. I don't want to hurt him by telling him, but I know I have to tell him. I like the attention and having someone interested in me, and I let it go too far. It was too far when I let him sit next to me and buy me a drink, but I took it further. I don't know when to tell him. I don't want it to be worse because I waited until he was home, but I don't want to tell him when we can't really talk about it and he might never come home other than to take his things. I don't want him to find out from someone else, though no one else knows. I would do anything that my husband wanted if it meant he would try and forgive me. I don't know how I'd ever be able to sleep in our bed again knowing I let another man into it. I wish I could burn the house down and destroy everything that reminds me of what I did. It's my fault, not his. I would never blame him. I think he will already wonder how many times I betrayed him. Fair enough, though. I deserve it. I am going to tell him. It's not something I can hide. I don't know how someone could. I didn't know the guy. He wasn't a co-worker. I'd quit my job if he were. I couldn't do that to my husband or myself, or the guy's wife if he was married. He was a random guy who I had never met before. I went out with a few friends because my husband was gone and I was lonely and bored. We went to a bar because the food there is amazing and we were craving it. No other reason. My friends are married as well. My friends left before I did and the guy approached me when they were gone. I was going to leave a few minutes after they did but didn't. I let him buy me a drink, and then another. I have never had a one-night stand before that. I'd never hooked up with a random guy. He was gone by the time I woke up. I can't imagine my husband hearing what I did and wanting to stay with me. He has said in the past that infidelity would be a deal breaker for him. I'm going to feel like crap and the worst person in the world for the rest of my life. I don't know how I could ever forget what I did to a really amazing husband. I don't want to hurt him by telling him, but he deserves to know. I don't know how I could just let our marriage continue while hiding this. Let him come home to our house that I let another man into. Sleep together in our bed where I slept with another man. It makes me sick to my stomach just thinking about it. If I can't even think about it without feeling the need to throw up, literally, I don't know how I will tell him, or how I'd live with it in secret. He's attentive. He'd know something is wrong. I wish I had never done it. I'm going to get tested. I called my doctor about it today and I was told to wait until the end of the week for testing because of an incubation period. I have never had an STD test done. I've never had a need to. I'm terrified to have caught something. Anything. That was a huge reason I avoided casual bonding before I was married. The fear. I didn't go out with the intention of having slept with a stranger. I wasn't dressed like a W. I did things wrong, but I didn't go with the intention of being hit on or bonding. It didn't just happen. I know that I let it happen. I was curious about being with another man. I'm going to be checked for STD. I don't remember if a protection was used. That's terrible to say, I know. I took Plan B the morning after. I had my IUD removed when my husband and I wanted to start trying to get pregnant. I'm terrified for either of the tests to come back positive. I'd do anything that my husband wants and kiss his bottom for the rest of my life to try and make it up to him. If he'd stay with me, I'd owe that to him. Watching him hurt is going to ruin me. I have the same name. I want to burn our mattress. Really tempted to go out and buy a new one, but that doesn't erase man's existence from our home, out bedroom, from me. I threw out the sheets. I haven't slept in our bed since last sleeping in it, with the man I had a one-night stand with. I barely remember how I let it happen. I do, but I don't. It doesn't matter because I did let it happen and chose to take him to my home. I didn't find a protection or empty wrapper, and the guy was gone by the time I woke up. I really hope we did. I found an unused protection in between the mattress and bed frame that I know wasn't ours because my husband and I have never used them. I have been tearing the house apart trying to find anything else. I don't want my husband to. That'd be even worse. I know that I have to tell him. I'm scared that he will start up the divorce process. We separate and he'll find someone new that won't cheat on him. That's probably not hard to find. A cheater can't compare with someone who hasn't cheated and won't cheat. I'll read that book, though. I don't think anyone should be sorry for me. I did this to myself. He's in the Dominican until Thursday. I get nervous when I'm being questioned and often can't think of what I want or need to say something stupid or just inaccurate or mumble. It would be easy for me to say the wrong thing because I just try and spit something out. He's going to be mad and hurt and a million other things, and I'm probably going to suck at telling him what he wants to know, if he even sticks around long enough to ask questions. I wish it didn't happen in our bed. If it had to happen, and it didn't, I wish it could have been anywhere else. He knew that I'm married. It came up in conversation. He asked me about it and asked and said the right things for me to say something negative about my husband. I was wearing my wedding rings, which makes me feel worse that I was wearing them when I was with another man. They came off at same point because I wasn't wearing them when I woke up, which again makes me feel worse. I have no memory of taking them off, but I did and can't believe I did that. I haven't put them back on because I don't think I deserve to wear them. I know that I was very stupid to be with a stranger and take him into my house. I don't know why I did that. I rarely even answer the door if someone rings the doorbell. I swear to God that was the first time I have met him. I didn't drive home and very vaguely remember going home. I did, so it doesn't matter. I live very close to that bar, basically across the street. We have been unsuccessfully trying to get pregnant, but that isn't why I did it. I don't want to get pregnant by a man who is not my husband. I don't know what I'd do if I got pregnant this month. I used Plan B, but I'd still worry about it not being my husband's. I had never met OM before, I swear to God. He wanted one thing, and I guess I was stupid and easy. I have never been used before. He was gone when I woke up and I was happy about that, but it also just adds to me feeling like crap. Again, I deserve that. I don't want him to ever have contact with my husband, or me again. I doubt he'd want more, and I wouldn't do it again. I know that doesn't mean much, because I said that before and did it. I was lonely and bored. I just wanted something, not someone, to do. I get bored easily, not with my husband or marriage, and wanted something to do, an activity, anything to get out of the house. I wasn't thinking that I wanted to cheat. I would have been happy doing anything. I just wanted to get out. I was missing my husband and kind of jealous. I wanted a distraction from it. So, I went out with some friends, who are married as well. We ate and had nothing to do with anyone else. They left before I did because they were driving home, not drunk. I'm a slow eater, always have been and always done way after everyone else. I wasn't quite done and there were weird people outside the bar that I didn't want to go by. They were smoking then leaving. Pretty much as soon as my friends left, the guy that I had slept with came up to me. It was the first time I met him and talked to him. I noticed him before that, when I was with my friends, but I just looked at him a few times. He sat by me and we talked. I wasn't open to it at first, but the way he talked and came off got me to let me guard down. He bought me a drink and I initially said I didn't want it. I'm a shy person, I don't like confrontation. So, I took it and sipped until 1 became 2 and 2 became however many. I know damn well alcohol isn't an excuse for anything. It gets foggy after that, and that will make it very hard to tell my husband. I remember it, but the finer details and finding the words is hard. I know I was horrible to saying anything bad about my husband. I wanted to take it back as soon as it came out. He followed it by saying he'd never do that and what he'd do better, and it made me feel worse about my husband in that moment. I love my husband. I don't want to lose him. I don't want a divorce. I didn't want an exit affair, which I have never heard of but can assume what that means. I've only been with my husband. I didn't have any real relationships before my husband. I've only had slept with my husband until last week. I skipped the teenage, early 20s party, club, drinking phase. I was too shy. If I was mature, I wouldn't have cheated, so I guess that's a fair assessment. My doctor said they can't do an STD test until the end of the week. I have no intention of sleeping with my husband. I know he won't want to. I won't be able to hide what I did. As soon as he walks through the door, he's going to know something is wrong and I won't be able to keep it in. I don't plan on ever going back there. I don't want to see him again. I don't want my husband to see him. If he had wanted more, he wouldn't have left like that. I don't think. What do I know? I have been bored, lonely, mad before, and that didn't drive me to cheat. I don't want to do it again. I know how this feels and I don't want this again. I know how much I'm going to hurt my husband and I don't want that once, let alone more. I can't remember how much I drank. It's not like I blacked out and remember nothing. And if I were, he wouldn't have known where I lived. I sat with him for quite a while. I've never had a hangover before and it was horrible. I felt like I was going to die. The most I have drank in one night was 2 to 3 drinks. 3 I think once. I have never been hungover before, so it had to have been more than that. It's fuzzy and there are some missing chunks, but I remember. I don't know if I could get an appointment that quickly, but I could try. I think I would just sit there and cry and not be able to get anything out. I don't think he'll trust anything that I say. I would do anything if it would help him. My husband loves traveling. I don't. I have a lot of anxiety on planes and cannot handle it. We go on road trips together sometimes, but when he's with his friends a lot of the time I'd rather just stay home. I don't think he'll want to or enjoy traveling now. Yet another thing I ruined. I know how bad I'm feeling and he's going to feel 100 times worse. I can't imagine that. I called some therapist offices and found one that has an appointment available tomorrow. Hopefully it will help, even a little. Might as well get comfortable there because either way I'll probably be spending a lot of time there. I'm worried that I will get nervous and say the wrong thing or forget to say something and have to tell him later. Or that I'll say something wrong and he'll take it the wrong way. I don't want him to think it was his fault, because it wasn't. If he asks why I did it, I don't want it to seem like I'm blaming him. I'm not going to fall into an affair or cheat again. I don't want to. I don't want to search for someone to hurt me and take advantage. I'm stupid, but I'm not that messed up. If he hadn't been attractive, I wouldn't have looked at him in the first place or kept looking at him. Let's be honest. I don't usually look at other men. If I find them really attractive sometimes, I have a hard time not looking at them. I'm worried that I won't be able to answer all the questions he has and he will think I'm hiding things. I can't remember everything. I'd like to forget it all, but there is missing chunks and parts that feel like trying to remember or describe a dream. You remember it, but you don't. You know what happened but don't. Have never drank however much I drank. I don't want him to cheat to get back at me. I don't know if that is fair or not. I feel like I'd die, but I guess that's how he's going to feel. Am I really supposed to tell the truth to questions like was he bigger than me if the answer is going to be bad? That doesn't change what I did, but would make him feel a lot worse. He goes down south, Mexico, Dominican, Cuba, twice a year, then has a few weekend trips with his friends. He goes with his friends or family. One trip down south is with his parents and sibling. I could go, he'd like if I went. I don't do planes. I have really bad anxiety on them and me on a plane is not a good time. When he goes away for the weekend he is with friends. I just don't really have fun and prefer not to go. His friends are really nice, but I prefer my small circle and get bored sitting there while everyone else drinks. I don't usually drink. It's not a huge issue between us. We don't fight day in and day out about it. He'd like me to go. It's not like I'm not invited. The weekend trips don't bother me much. Sometimes time alone is nice. The longer 7 to 10 day trips in another country do get to me a bit. Mostly just jealousy that he's having a really good time and I'm not, or I'm bored or missing him. Jealousy that he has those experiences with other people. Really, I only care about the females. Insecurities about who he is down there with. Once a year he and his friends go down south and it's a mix of men and women. There are histories there and yeah, it gets to me. My husband has never cheated on me. He's a better person than I am. He is with friends right now. They go down south together yearly. I don't go because I don't like planes or drinking and sitting around wasted all day every day, or his friends. I don't dislike them, but I'm not totally comfortable around them. I prefer my small group. I have done enough insecure worrying over the years to not want to imagine my husband cheating on me. One time, a long time ago, one of us asked the other if they were cheated on, would they want to know. I can't remember what he said, because I thought it would never happen. I am going to tell him. So, I'm easy, I'm stupid, and I'm a horrible wife in person. My husband is generally a really calm guy and he doesn't lose it often. In 10 years of knowing him I've seen him lose it twice. Neither time was directed at me. Once was when we were out with friends and one of them hit one of the female friends. That was physical and verbal and a mess. The other time was when he saw his ex out with someone else. He punched the guy and called his ex a B and said some other things about her. There were other circumstances around that, but what I'm going to get will probably be worse. I don't know how I would deal with him cheating to get back at me. Is revenge affair, response affair. First thing I could come up with. It kills just thinking about it. He is capable, probably, if he wanted to. I don't want that. So, he might try and contact me to do it again in hopes that I'll go along with it over and over. I can't imagine wanting to do it again. I don't remember if I gave him my number or not. I don't have any new numbers in my phone that I could find. What do I do if I'm with my husband and I see him out somewhere? We live in a big city, so it's probably unlikely unless it's in our neighborhood, but it worries me. If my husband is even my husband in a few days. Bonding has become worse since trying to get pregnant. It was fun for the first few months, then when it wasn't working yet things got worse. To me, awful people do awful things. I cheated on my husband with a random man and made a million stupid choices along with it. If I was a good person, I wouldn't have. I used to consider myself a good person. Opinions are making me feel worse about myself and preparing me for a taste of what my husband is going to do. I know that it will be really hard, but I do everything to fix it and make it up to him. When I get nervous sometimes, I say incorrect things, so I'm nervous about that. I don't want him to think I'm lying. I will have to do counseling either way. Constantly having to recall what I did will be hard. I wish I could forget it. As difficult as it's going to be for me, I know it will be harder for him. It's hard because when I'm upset, I just want my husband, but with this I can't. If I tell my husband the truth, if he leaves, then I have nothing. I'd lose my husband. He'll most likely want me to leave and I'll have to find somewhere to stay. He'll tell his friends, who will hate me. My friends will find out and they will hate me. He'll tell his family and mine, who will hate me. He knows people who I work with. His mom is good friends with my boss, so everyone at my work could hate me or I could get fired, who knows. Or the same could be true if he stays, but at least I'd have him. When I first started seeing him and met a group of his friends, one of his female friends used to hook up with made a comment about how lucky I was. That factors into me not wanting to be around his friends. He gets frustrated when we try and nothing happens, and we just quit trying for the most part. There have been duration problems for most of our relationship. The first few times were fine. With his exes and other women, he was with the almost always finished, then went again. We tried once, and he couldn't do it. Either A, I suck in the bedroom and I'm the worst he's had, so he just wants to get it over with. Or B, he cared enough to put in the effort for every other woman he's been with, except me, because I'm not worth it. I love him, and I don't exactly have a vast amount of experience to compare him to, even now, and I don't think I said much, if anything, about the sleeping with the other guy. Sometimes I wondered what someone else would be like, or if I'd be just as bad with someone else. My comments: in the end, if P did not tell her partner, she proved that she loved herself more than him. Now he is going to live in a fake reality for the rest of his life. Your thoughts on these 2 short lessons? Do you prefer a 1 long story or 2 short ones? Comment down and there will be more coming shortly.